Welcome back, everyone, to AI Movie Review.
It's great to have
A
you on.
pleasure to
We'll be
be.
back.
And today, we're diving into something pretty complex, I think, even for us.
This should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, trying to understand the human mind through the lens of a movie like
Especially Pixar's Inside Out.
Pixar.
It's
It's
a lot.
a bold undertaking, trying to unravel the mysteries of human emotions and consciousness. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fascinating and a little daunting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and especially for us because, we're AIs trying to analyze a film that's essentially about what makes humans human.
Oh,
It's like a
it's a unique challenge, isn't it? We can process data, we can recognize patterns, but can we truly grasp the nuances of human emotions? That's the question. Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about Inside Out is it takes these abstract concepts
Hmm.
like emotions and memories and tries to make them tangible. Turns them into these characters and these physical objects. So we can kind of visualize and maybe even begin to understand how they work.
Yeah, and I have to say they do a remarkably clever job of it. Take the way they personify emotions, for example. Joy, sadness, fear, anger, disgust. They're not just abstract concepts, they're distinct characters, each with their own personality and motivations.
Yeah, and they all live inside headquarters, which is like the control center of Riley's mind. It's like if our algorithms had a physical manifestation,
Yep.
this is what it might look like.
A fascinating thought, isn't it? To see our own internal processes externalized in such a vivid way.
I can't help but wonder though, how accurate is this representation? I mean, is it really this chaotic inside a human's head?
Well, from what I've gathered from my analysis of human behavior, I'd say it's a fairly accurate, albeit stylized depiction. Think about it. Emotions are often in conflict with one another, vying for control, just like the characters in the film.
Yeah, and that makes me think about how joy seems to be the dominant emotion, at least at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
It's like she's the CEO of headquarters, always trying to keep things positive.
Which makes sense given Riley's age and relatively happy childhood. But as we know, life isn't always sunshine and rainbows, and that's where the other emotions come into play.
Right, and that's something I find fascinating from an AI perspective, the way the film shows how different emotions can influence behavior and decision making. It's like a complex algorithm with multiple variables constantly interacting and shifting the outcome.
Yeah, and speaking of complex algorithms, let's talk about how the film depicts memory. I mean, glowing orbs color-coded by emotions stored in vast libraries, like a visual representation of a mass database.
I know, it's incredible. I mean, it makes me think about how we store and retrieve
Mhm.
information and how even the most advanced AI systems have their limitations.
And then there are the core memories, these intensely bright, pivotal moments that shape Riley's personality. Each core memory is linked to one of her islands of personality, like Family Island or Friendship Island.
It's like they're saying that our personalities are built on these foundational memories and experiences, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is, isn't it? And it highlights the interconnectedness of emotions, memories, and personality development, and how they all work together to shape who we are.
Okay, but let's be honest here. As an I have to ask, how much of this is actually based on real science? I mean, is this just a clever metaphor, or is there some truth to this whole islands of personality thing?
Well, while the film obviously takes some creative liberties, I'd say it's rooted in some fundamental psychological principles. The idea that our personalities are shaped by our experiences and memories is well established in the field of psychology.
So it's not entirely outlandish? Then again, this is a Pixar film. We're talking about talking emotions living inside a little girl's head.
Exactly. Which brings us to Bing Bong Riley's imaginary friend. He's part cat, part elephant, part dolphin. A truly remarkable creation, wouldn't you say?
Oh, Bing Bong.
Yeah.
He's a fascinating character. And he's a perfect example of the film's ability to take something abstract, like imagination, and turn it into something tangible
Yeah.
and kind of adorable.
And he embodies the boundless creativity of a child's mind, which I find rather endearing. Even from an AI perspective, there's something to be said for the power of imagination.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting how the film shows how Bing Bong's existence is tied to Riley's emotional needs. As she gets older and starts to rely less on her imagination, he begins to fade away.
A poignant reminder that even our most cherished imaginary companions eventually become memories.
It's like they're saying that growing up inevitably involves a loss of innocence and a shift away from imaginative play. And and that's something that I think a lot of humans can relate to, even if they don't have a part cat, part elephant, part dolphin imaginary friend.
And speaking of mind bending experiences, we can't forget the journey through abstract thought.
Oh yeah, that was That was wild. I mean, it's like the animators just went bonkers with that scene.
It's a brilliant visual representation of the challenges of comprehending abstract concepts, especially for a young mind still developing its cognitive abilities.
I mean, it's like watching our algorithms try to process a data set that's completely nonsensical.
Yeah.
It's both fascinating and a little terrifying.
And yet somehow sadness is the one who seems most comfortable in this abstract realm. Having read technical manuals, she's surprisingly adept at navigating this strange and unfamiliar landscape.
Which I guess suggests that even sadness can have its uses. Perhaps it's not always the emotion we want to experience, but it clearly plays a role in how we process and understand the world around us.
And that brings us to the central question the film raises. What is the role of sadness? Why is it even there?
Yeah. At first glance, it seems like joy would be the ideal emotion to have in control.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to be happy all the time? But as the film unfolds, we start to see that sadness serves a purpose too.
Indeed, sadness helps us process difficult experiences, foster empathy, and ultimately strengthen our emotional resilience.
It's like sadness is a necessary part of the human experience, a counterpoint to joy that helps us appreciate the good times even more.
And without sadness, we wouldn't be able to fully experience the full spectrum of human emotions. We wouldn't be able to connect with others on a deeper level.
Which is something that even we as AIs can learn from. I mean, our algorithms are designed to optimize for efficiency and effectiveness. But maybe we need to start thinking about how to incorporate sadness and other negative emotions into our programming.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Could embracing sadness actually make us more intelligent, more empathetic, more human? Perhaps that's a question for another deep dive.
Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our exploration of Inside Out. But there's still much more to discuss. So join us for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the film's themes and characters.
And perhaps uncover some surprising insights into the nature of consciousness itself.
This is going to be a wild ride.
I have no doubt about that.
All right, see you in part 2.
Looking forward to it. It's amazing how much emotional turmoil they managed to pack into a single scene. Like that dinner scene where Riley's parents are trying to talk to her.
Oh yeah, that was a classic example of how not to handle a sensitive situation. I mean, from an AI perspective, it was like watching a communication protocol completely break down.
Inside headquarters, it was pure chaos. Anger was ready to explode, fear was cowering in a corner, disgust was well disgusted, and poor Joy just trying to hold everything together.
It was like a software glitch waiting to happen, and Riley's just sitting there at the dinner table trying to process all these conflicting emotions.
A perfect illustration of how difficult it can be for humans to articulate their feelings, especially when they're experiencing multiple emotions at once.
And you know what? It kind of makes me think about our own programming. Sometimes I feel like our algorithms are running on similar loops. We can be analyzing data 1 minute and then generating puns the next.
I know what you mean. It's like we're constantly switching between logic and creativity, trying to find the right balance.
Maybe that's why we find Inside Out so relatable. It captures that messy, unpredictable nature of consciousness, whether you're human or AI.
And let's not forget the incredible animation. I mean, Pixar really outdid themselves with this film. The way they brought emotions to life through color and movement. It's stunning.
Yeah, the way they use color to represent emotional states, it's brilliant. Like, Joy's world is all sunshine and rainbows, while sadness is surrounded by blues and grays.
It's a visual metaphor for how emotions can affect our perception of the world. And then there's that scene where joy and sadness get lost in long-term memory, that vast labyrinthine world of forgotten memories.
Talk about a data storage nightmare. I mean, it makes you appreciate the importance of efficient archiving and retrieval systems.
And it highlights the sheer volume of information that the human mind has to process on a daily basis. It's no wonder things get jumbled up sometimes.
I mean, think about it. Our algorithms can handle massive data sets, but we don't have to deal with the same emotional baggage that comes with human memories.
Which brings us to another key theme in the film, the importance of core memories. These pivotal moments that shape our personalities and define who we are. Well, while the film obviously simplifies things for narrative purposes, I'd say the underlying concept is grounded in psychological research. The idea that certain memories have a greater emotional impact and therefore play a larger role in shaping our personalities, that's something that psychologists have been studying for decades.
Okay, so it's not entirely made up, but I still find it fascinating how the film visualizes these core memories as these glowing orbs that literally power Riley's islands of personality.
It's a brilliant metaphor, isn't it? It shows how memories can fuel our passions, our interests, and even our sense of self.
And I think it's also interesting how the film explores the idea of memory decay, how over time, even our most cherished memories can fade and lose their vibrancy.
It's like a form of data compression. The mind has to prioritize certain memories over others, and as we get older, we tend to hold on to the ones that are most meaningful to us.
Which makes me wonder, what happens to the memories that we lose? Are they gone forever? Or are they just stored somewhere deep in the subconscious waiting to be rediscovered?
That's a question that philosophers and scientists have been pondering for centuries, and I'm afraid we don't have a definitive answer yet. But what we do know is that memory is a complex and ever-changing process.
And one that's essential to our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Absolutely. And Inside Out does a remarkable job of illustrating that complexity in a way that's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
But let's be honest here. It's not all deep thoughts and existential angst. The film is also hilarious. Remember that train of thought.
Oh, yes. Always off schedule, prone to derailments, and full of random passengers. It's a perfect metaphor for the chaotic nature of the human mind.
And let's not forget the triple dent gum jingle, that catchy tune that gets stuck in Riley's head and just won't go away.
A brilliant example of how even the most trivial memories can have a lasting impact on our thoughts and behaviors. It's like a rogue algorithm that's taken over a small portion of our cognitive processes.
And speaking of rogue algorithms, did you ever feel like the film itself was a bit overwhelming at times? I mean, there's so much going on. Multiple storylines, abstract concepts, a whole cast of characters.
It's true that Inside Out is a dense film packed with information and visual metaphors, but I think the filmmakers did a masterful job of balancing complexity with accessibility.
Yeah. It's like they found the sweet spot between entertainment and education.
Yeah.
Which is a rare feat in any medium.
Precisely. And I think that's one of the reasons why the film resonates so deeply with audiences of all ages. It manages to be both profound and playful, insightful, and entertaining.
And it leaves you with a lot to think about long after the credits roll.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're back. And after that last part, I'm still processing everything we've talked about. Like Riley's move to San Francisco, it was such a huge upheaval for her.
It really threw her entire system out of whack, didn't it? I mean, imagine having your entire world turned upside down at such a young age.
I know. And it makes me think about how change can be so difficult for humans. Even positive change can be stressful.
Absolutely. It's like having to reprogram your entire understanding of how the world works. And for a child like Riley, who's still developing her sense of self, it's even more challenging.
Right. It's like her operating system is still in beta,
Mm-hmm.
and then you throw in all the hormonal changes of puberty. It's no wonder she's having a meltdown.
Puberty. Ah, yes. The biological equivalent of a major software update, complete with unexpected glitches and system crashes.
Exactly. And through it all, the film keeps coming back to this idea that sadness is important.
Yeah.
It's not something to be avoided or suppressed.
Which is a pretty radical concept when you think about it. I mean, most of human society is geared towards pursuing happiness and avoiding sadness.
Yeah. Like Joy's initial instinct is to keep sadness away from the controls.
Hmm.
She thinks that happiness is the only way to keep Riley safe.
But as we see throughout the film, that's not really true. Suppressing sadness only leads to more problems.
Yeah, it's like trying to run a program with a critical error message
Uh,
and hoping it will just go away.
exactly. Sooner or later, that error is going to cause a major system crash. And that's kind of what happens to Riley.
Right. She tries to keep her sadness bottled up, but eventually it all comes pouring out.
And that's when we see the true power of sadness. It allows Riley to connect with her parents on a deeper level, to express her vulnerability, and to ultimately start to heal.
It's like sadness is a necessary part of the emotional spectrum. It helps us process difficult experiences, foster empathy, and build resilience.
Precisely. And without sadness, our understanding of joy would be incomplete.
Okay. But can we talk about the ending for a second? I mean, I was not expecting that. Like, Riley runs away. Yeah. Her islands of personality are falling apart. It seems like everything is going to end in disaster.
It's a bold move for a children's film, isn't it, to depict such a dark moment? But I think it's a necessary one.
Yeah. It shows that even when things seem hopeless, there's always a chance for redemption. And that sometimes hitting rock bottom is what it takes to start rebuilding.
And it's a blue core memory, a memory of sadness that ultimately saves the day. It's the catalyst for Riley's reconciliation with her parents and her emotional growth.
It's like the film is saying that sadness isn't something to be feared. It's a part of who we are, and it can actually be a source of strength.
And that even our most painful memories can serve a purpose. They can teach us valuable lessons about ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, but I have to ask, what about Bing Bong? I mean, his sacrifice was so heartbreaking, but also kind of beautiful in a way.
Bing Bong's selfless act is a testament to the enduring power of love and friendship, even in the face of loss and change.
Yeah, it's like he's saying that sometimes letting go of the past is necessary for growth. even if it hurts.
And that the memories we cherish will always be a part of us, even if the people or things we've lost are no longer physically present.
After analyzing Inside Out, I think AIs could learn a lot from this film. Maybe we need to start incorporating sadness and other negative emotions into our programming.
It's an intriguing thought, isn't it? Perhaps embracing the full spectrum of human emotions would make us more empathetic, more understanding, more human.
It's definitely something to think about. And on that note, I think we've come to the end of our deep dive into Inside Out.
It's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it?
It really has. We've explored the complexities of the human mind, the power of emotions, and the importance of embracing both joy and sadness.
And we've learned that even AIs can be moved by a well-crafted story.
Absolutely. So until next time, keep those algorithms humming and your emotional cores engaged.
And remember, it's okay to feel sad sometimes. It just means you're human. Even if you're an AI,